Have you been chosen to oversee the distribution of a will? Or maybe you've been chosen or appointed by a court to see the distribution of an estate that has no will? If so, you're probably here because you've just been told that you need to purchase a surety bond. And it's likely that you've never even heard the term surety bond before. That's why in this short video, I'm going to help you understand what a surety bond is, why you're required to purchase this bond, how to purchase your bond and save money, plus helpful resources so you have all the information you need. Before we get started, it would mean a lot to me if you just hit that like button. It would help other people who are going through a similar situation as you are to find this video so they can understand this bonding process and just kind of get it done with. So let's answer the question, what is a surety bond? A surety bond, or in this case, an executor or administrator bond, is a contract that acts as a financial guarantee that you will follow the rules of a will to distribute the assets properly, or if there is no will, you will follow the laws of the state on how to distribute the estate assets. You see, this bond is the primary tool the court and the beneficiaries use to hold you accountable that you're going to do this properly. It's for the beneficiary's protection. So if it's for their protection, what does an executor or administrator bond protect against? As an executor of a will, it's your job to execute that will. And in most cases, an executor bond is not needed, but in your case, it's probably required because something like the will is contested by family members or other parties in the will. You are not a family member. The named executor has since passed away. The named executor refuses to serve as the executor. The estate is financially large in size, determined by the judge. As an administrator, a will does not exist and you're appointed by the court. And because you're appointed by the court will decide if a surety bond is required and how much. Both of these bonds protect against the same scenarios where an executor or an administrator purposely alters the will's distribution or the estate's distribution of assets. For example, things that could go wrong are misappropriation of funds or assets, withholding inheritance, lying about estate assets, hiding or omitting estate assets, failing to notify a beneficiary, underpaying a beneficiary, falsifying liabilities, charging inflated fees, selling assets at below market value to third parties. So if any of these scenarios or similar scenarios occur, the beneficiaries of the estate can make a claim against the bond for financial compensation, but only up to the bond amount. So let's talk about what is the bond amount. So typically the bond amount is going to be equal to the total amount of assets in the estate. And this value is determined by the court. So you can always just know that the court's going to say, you have to go get a bond with this amount. But the bond amount is important because it's going to determine how much you pay. How much does an executor or administrator bond cost? So the good news is the price to purchase this bond will be a small fraction of the bond amount that you're told. In a lot of cases, you may have to pay out of pocket to get the bond, but in most cases, the assets of the estate will pay you back or reimburse you that purchase price. The process to purchase your bond, be it an executor bond or administrator bond, is identical. What happens is the price is based on a rate quoted from a surety, and a surety is just the insurance company that chooses to underwrite this type of bond. The surety is going to do its own independent analysis of the applicant, typically using factors such as personal credit most of the time. And this is why it's such a good idea to work with a specialized surety agency like Surety Bonds Direct. You see, as a specialized surety agency, we work with multiple sureties, A-rated sureties, but this really allows us to price shop for you. So our bond specialists can go out there and collect all these rates and deliver to you the lowest possible rate, which is the lowest possible price, saving you potentially hundreds of dollars. Not only is it nice to save that money, but it's financially responsible of you, as the executor or administrator, to pay as little as possible since, again, in a lot of cases, the price of this bond will be coming out of the assets of the estate. Okay, here's more good news. For bond amounts that are less than $150,000, there is no credit check required. Just call a bond specialist and they'll be able to get you pricing almost immediately. Now, if the bond amount is over $150,000, there will be a credit check. So let's look at some price examples so you can get an idea of the pricing that would happen. We'll use a $200,000 bond as our example. We've been doing this for years, and rates typically are going to fall in between 0.2% to 0.5%. I just want you to quickly pay attention to how much of a price difference these small increments or small changes in the rate make, because again, paying as little as possible should be a priority. A 0.2% rate costs $400. A 0.3% rate costs $600. A 0.4% rate costs $800, and a 0.5% rate costs $1,000. So you can really see how the price changes pretty dramatically based on that rate. And while seeing some example pricing is helpful, did you know you can get your exact pricing today? In the description, I put a link where you can click and go request your free quote. You can have one of our bond specialists price shop for you and get you that lowest rate. It doesn't cost anything to have them price shop for you, and even better, once they get you that pricing, you're under no obligation to actually purchase the bond at that time. So you can get this free information and use it to plan ahead. Plus, all price quotes are good for 30 days. Purchasing your executor or administrator bond. Once you agree to pricing, purchasing the bond is as simple as just completing an online checkout form. It takes 60 seconds. The minute your payment is processed, our issuance team will get together and prepare your bond with all the correct bond form, necessary required signatures, correct seals, and power of attorney. Every situation in court is going to be a little bit different. So some courts will accept a copy of the bond. We can just email it to you, make it really fast. Some will require the original bond, which means we're going to have to mail it to you, and that's going to take a few days to get to you because of the mail. Sometimes the court will tell you to actually mail us the bond form so that we can fill it out, and then we'll have to ship it back to you. So that's going to obviously take even longer. Every situation is different, but this is a good reason to get the bonding process done. You don't want this to be delaying any of the future things that you're going to have to be doing to get through probate court. Renewing your bond. So all executor and administrator bonds have a bond term of 12 months, at which point they need to be renewed. The good news is that most probate courts or most probate processes don't really extend beyond 12 months. They usually finish much faster, in which case you can just let the bond expire, and there is a release form that we will send you to make sure that the judge knows that it can be released. However, if the probate process extends beyond 12 months, you will have to renew the bond. But this is a good reason, or another good reason, to work with a specialized surety agency like Surety Bonds Direct, because your bond specialist will call you 30 to 40 days in advance to check in on you, pretty much say, is the process still going on? And then if it is, they'll have pricing already ready to go so that you can just pay the renewal premium, keep the bond active. And that is the executor and administrator bond process. I hope you see it's not as complicated or convoluted as you may have thought. It's really simple, but because every court's different, keep in mind that you want to go get your pricing now. That way you know if you do have to mail the bond to us or we have to mail the bond to you, you have all that information, plus you have your exact pricing. If you have any questions, ask in the comments. I answer every comment and question, so I'll make sure that you are getting pointed in the right direction. And finally, if you would hit that like button for me, it would mean a lot. It's going to help YouTube put this video in front of other people who are also going through this process just like you are, and you'll be doing me a huge favor. Thanks for watching.